Hey guys, welcome back to KociStudios.com. This is part 2 of the gear series, and we're going to close it up here. We're going to move on from gear and move on to other things like sound and narrative and all of the other important things that I think are probably more important than gear. But we've got to focus on gear and get over the fear of gear because it's a stepping stone to where we need to be. We need to get so comfortable with our gear and comfortable about thinking about little things that it doesn't stop us from telling good stories. And all along the way, I'm going to start giving you slowly tips, tricks about many things. We're going to move from gear to narrative to editing. We're going to get a little bit more specific about sound. And then at the end of the summer, I am going to launch a digital workshop for those of you who could not be with me in person that will basically go from beginning to end on a shoot. So we'll talk about preparation, we'll talk about gear, we'll actually go on a shoot, and then you'll come back with me to my editing station and I'll start talking about the how and the why of how I'm putting things together, all the way through to a finished little mini movie, if you will, mini project. So that's coming. It's something I'm really excited about, and that's what we're all building up to right now. Everything that goes on here, and it's going to come after this video, is building up towards that digital workshop. I'm really excited. I cannot wait for you guys to get that in your hands. And if you follow along step by step here, you will be so prepared for it, so ready for it. It will be amazing. So let's take the next step, part 2 of the gear, and talk about the gear. Where I left off, I talked a little bit, I gave you a little tease about lenses and bodies and a little bit about tripods and monopods. What I want to do now is get into the most important section of the gear, and that is sound. Great video, I like to say, is 51% sound. Nobody's going to watch your HD video if the sound sucks. So it's really important to get a real good handle on your sound, and whether we like it or not, in terms of sound, you get what you pay for. Most sound gear is fairly expensive, and the more you pay for gear, it generally goes that the better sound quality you're going to get. So that's a harsh reality. I would say that I spend more of my money on audio equipment because audio is so important. So I'm going to share with you a little bit of my audio setups, a little bit of the evolution that I've made in terms of recording audio for my DSLR. And before we get into that, I just want to get 2 things out of the way. Several people asked about what bags I use. And I actually moved from a bag, like a bag that goes over your shoulder, to 2 other ways that I carry my equipment. One is Think Tank sells belts. And these belts, it's basically a belt that goes around your waist, and you can buy various modules that things slide into. For example, they have a really great one for your microphone, and these things go on your belt. And I work most of the time that way with a belt system so that all the weight is evenly distributed and I can grab things and not worry about rustling in a bag. So that's a Think Tank belt system. The other thing I use is a Think Tank backpack, and you might not be able to see it right here, but it's in the list of things, and I believe that this one is called the Shapeshifter. Excuse me, a little piece of gear fell there. Nothing too important. And I like the Shapeshifter as a backpack. So I've moved from a shoulder bag, which was a traditional kind of photojournalist bag, to a belt system that I can kind of go from 3 different bags on that belt down to 1 if I need to. And I always carry my gear in a backpack. And the Shapeshifter is a great bag because it allows to kind of expand and contract in a really unique way. So those are the 2 bags I use. Again, links down at the bottom. So let's talk about DSLR audio. Okay, the basic DSLR audio would be a setup just like this, which would be really no audio at all and only relying on the small microphone on the DSLR. You do not want to do that. This little input device, if you even want to call it an input device, is so poor and so bad. You can hear the image stabilizer motor running in some lenses. You hear every, what we call handling noise, every move that you make on the camera. It's really, really poor quality. If you had to, you could get away with it in some very quiet situations where you're not touching your camera and the subject is really close. But I wouldn't even advise that. So let's talk about the next step, the minimum step you can take to get good audio. So I have a little Rode Video Pro microphone, and this is probably one of the first generations of them. They change continually. They've got some great ones that are coming out. This one is still a great workhorse for me. And at minimum, you can just mount a little shotgun, mini shotgun mount, and take the connector and go right into your camera, and immediately with this small step you're already upping your game in your audio. Now this is level 1, let's call it. Okay, so now let's go to level 2. So level 2 would be something that, believe it or not, in this day and age almost harkens back to silent films. Well, not silent films, that doesn't make any sense. Harkens back to the idea of when sound and picture were being married together. And that's a dual system, if you will, which is shooting your camera and gathering the audio from this little mic and then separately recording your audio on a separate device like a digital audio recorder here. This is the Tascam DR100, and you might even plug in a mic here and record your audio separately, okay, than your picture. And then later in post-production, you would marry them together, because the post-production software like Final Cut, which has great system in it, in the new Final Cut 10, and Adobe Premiere, there's also a product called Pluralize, which helps, marries these two waveforms, and you're able to put this high-quality audio onto the track here in post-production. But it doesn't always work. It's got a very high rate of working, but it's kind of a pain. I've done all of these systems. This one is not optimum. Some people still enjoy it, but I have moved away from this into the next step. So again, that's dual audio. You are recording sound from your 5D, right? That's kind of the scratch track, if you will. It uses that really bad audio coming in here, if you will, to marry with this audio. And you could, if you want to, I've seen happen, still recording sound separately, use this, which I would probably suggest, right? And separate audio. And then you're marrying these two together in post-productions. Don't worry if this is a little confusing. In this digital workshop, I'm going to explain it in detail, and I'm going to give you examples, and I'm going to give you best practices. Again, this is just right on the surface. I just want to run through this stuff. People ask about this all the time, and I think sometimes it's good just to kind of see it and hear a little bit about what we're talking about. So the next step, if you want, and this is a piece of gear I can't live without. This is called a J-Cube, and you can get it at thejrod.com. And what it allows you to do is mount on top of your camera, and then you can take your digital audio recorder, which I'll grab here, and you can mount your digital audio recorder on top. And we just cut, and here I have it all, my little Franken camera, if you will, all connected together. And where we left off was we were talking about how I love the J-Cube and all of these amazing extra points of contact it gives us on the camera. It allows us to mount a little shotgun that's connected to the Tascam, and then the Tascam sound goes right into the camera, right? So now we're not only recording separate sound as a backup here, or a bass track that we can put on the video, we're also, with this little cable, it's called a SESCOM cable. It's a line out to mic cable. We are able, and again, don't fear this, we'll talk about this in great, great detail. We'll hook all this stuff together and do audio tests in the digital workshop. Now this allows us to have a backup track, and it actually lays this audio onto the track here. Now I'm going to get into the final way to do audio, which is the way I now do audio, which is I get rid of the Tascam and I go to something called a juice-linked Riggy. It's a low noise preamp that goes at the bottom of the camera here, and the mic connects into it. And for those of you who have older 5Ds, 7Ds, not a 5D Mark III that doesn't allow headphones or monitoring, They sell these juice-linked riggies with the ability to monitor both via headphones and sound levels. So it's a great investment, and the great thing about this, again, in the digital workshop, now that that came out, right? We'll talk more in detail about this and show you just how much better of an option I believe this is. I think the sound quality is far superior than anything. So that's kind of wrapping up the sound options on DSLR. Again, very quickly, the last thing I want to show you, a couple of things which are very important, are actual microphones. So you're hearing my voice right now, and what you're not seeing is a lapel mic. And while we could have gone the normal lapel mic route, I'm using a wireless microphone system, which is down here, which is a Sennheiser system. I would highly, highly suggest you spend the money and get a really, really nice system, probably the Sennheiser. You'll never, ever regret it. It will last a lifetime, and it's worth every penny. The Sennheiser wireless system comes with its own lapel mic, which is the default one that comes here, and it's exactly what you see all the news anchors wearing, and you usually see it. I don't think there's anything wrong with seeing the lapel mic, but sometimes you want to hide it, maybe on a groom, maybe in an interview, maybe in a situation like this. And I'll just do a little reveal here. Is right under here is my other mic. It's called a Countryman mic, and it's got a little vampire clip that allows it to clip behind, and what you were seeing there, and I'll show you one more time, is a little bit of moleskin and some medical tape to conveniently hide this here. Again, I'm going to show you how to do this. We'll get into the details of it. We'll even show you why I carry moleskin in my bag and medical tape. This is becoming a comedy routine. All of these really good things that just take your production levels up to the next spot, if you will, in terms of audio. And the final thing to show you is a shotgun mic. I believe in buying the best mic you can for your money. This is a Sennheiser ME66. It's kind of the workhorse of the industry. People love this mic. We'll do some mic tests in the digital workshop. And this is my Audio-Technica AT875R, another one I'm really fond of. And as we close this up, I also want to talk about just little tiny accessories like this that allow flexibility. They're really just shock mounts, they're really just hot shoe mounts. Things like this are really going to allow you to put things together so you're able to build the rig that you want. And finally, the last piece of my gear, I mean, I'm literally showing you everything, is a stand. And I'm just going to bring this into frame real quick. And this stand is called a boom pole stand. And for some reason, if you're really worried about the wireless lav situation or sound situation, or you're worried about too much rustling or anything like that, and you actually kind of want to mount this microphone overhead so that it points down, you can get a boom pole stand and a shock mount, and it allows you to mount the shotgun microphone overhead. Many of you have seen this, and we've all seen the independent filmmaker who's holding the boom pole. But this is a stand, so it actually puts someone out of business so that we don't need somebody holding it over my head. You can just use it with a stand. And of course, that's for stationary situations. So that's the big reveal. That's every piece of audio gear in my bag, with a little explanation and a promise that during the digital workshop, we will go methodically, step by step, slowly plugging it in. You'll be able to hear the results, and by the end of it, you won't have any fear of it. And then we'll move beyond all of this gear stuff in the digital workshop, and then we'll just go right into the thinking, the mentality, the things that are really important. Less about using the gear, you'll learn that, and more about how we use it and why we use it to construct a really powerful narrative. So stay tuned. There are more video tutorials, more posts on KociStudios.com coming about structure, editing, sound, you name it, we're going to do it. So take care, and I will see you soon.